This is Kuhn Cassis for IFLTV. We are in Derby for Misfits. This is pre-game. We're in the middle. We're in the middle. We've got a little break at the moment.
Just at the MF Pro guys. Yeah. One lost. Match 'em hard. Absolute fantastic knockout by the Argentinian. So Dylan Price's 19-0 record goes out the window, unfortunately. That's part of the pro game, I guess. Learning curve for Misfits. And then Amir Anderson, very impressive performance. So was he 10-time US national amateur champion? A bit amateurish in the first round or two, although he cut him actually early, so I can't say that too loud. But he looked good. No, he looked good. So yeah, a couple of MF Pro from the US, starting to build those ranks over there with MF Pro. So quite interesting in that space.
Obviously, many kind of talking point fights in the latter stages of the card. I mean, the press conference this week was in keeping with Misfits, should we just say?
Yeah.
Got Wakey Wines and Modine.
I followed the presser like a lot of us on social media, but no, I did the weigh-in. The presser was rather hot and tasty. I mean, that Modine's a lunatic, isn't he? Every time he turns up, I just look at him and I think, what's he going to do next? I hope he can actually fight, because what I saw from him in the States, he was absolutely useless. So let's hope that tonight he's a bit better than he was in the US. So I'm hoping for a good fight. Was it 5 1-minute rounds? that's also a first that I've seen. So that should be quite interesting. Yeah.
To be fair, if I was going to have a fight with Misfits, I'd opt for 5 1-minute rounds, I think.
You would? Would you fight Modine? We could do that.
Just see how tonight goes, first of all.
We'd do 2 fights in one night, Yeah, look, I mean, the kid clearly knows how to snatch a headline and go viral. But yeah, as Darren Till said yesterday, there is actually a fight afterwards to come. So let's see tonight what it's all about.
Let's talk about Darren Till. Obviously, he was in action tonight against Darren Stewart. It's been a bit of an up and down, path for Darren on Misfits, with the Tommy Fury fight not happening, then fighting Anthony Taylor, then the fight with Darren Stewart being postponed until tonight, etc. So it's been a little bit here and there, hasn't it?
He couldn't do anything about that. He couldn't do anything about the Tommy Fury pullout. That you get a pay-per-view card rescheduled, unfortunately, as we know from traditional boxing, that happens. That he got it a month later is, I think that's credit to Misfits, and I think Darren appreciates that, because normally you'd have to wait till that card gets rescheduled, and wanted him out quickly. It's going to be a big year for him, and second half of the year, definitely looking to do something big in Liverpool.
Yeah, that's pending, is it?
You want to build on, in this space,
Promoter's dream, isn't he? Till is.
He's a promoter's dream. He's heckled me over many years. So every time I've had a fight with one of the Smith family, or he's always been in that crowd and always loved to heckle. So I'm quite happy to be sitting next to him now, not against him. But at the same time, you got to look at it, and you don't really know how far Darren Till can go. Can he cross over in traditional boxing? I don't know yet, because let's face it. I mean, he was a fantastic UFC fighter. He was a great striker. And in a way, this is a very clever path to go, to see how far you can go before you cross over to the more traditional side of the sport.
We're actually, by the time this goes out, this is happening now, so tune in obviously to the zone if you're not here in Derby.
I was just thinking that. When is this actually going out?
We're going to put it out now, as soon as this is finished. You're very quick.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. No, I know you. Well, I think Joe's quick. I'm not so sure about you, Coogan.
Joe's 21, I'm 43. Yeah, Give me a bit of allowance.
You're getting the grey hairs, I mean, I'm trying to hide mine, but, you've got to shave more often. That's what I find. I used to shave once every 3 days. Now it's every day. Keep those grey hairs out, But, yeah. Yeah.
All right, there's nothing wrong with growing old gracefully. Is that what they say?
Silver fox.
Yeah, absolutely. KALLE SAUERLAND, what's happening? Obviously, a lot's happened, and he was meant to fight, hasn't fought, and what is going on?
I think he had the training camp. Obviously, what happened. He got sick. That's happened to me with many fighters. I've had fight's called off on the day of the fight because someone's had eye fever after Abraham. I remember flying down on the day of the fight and turned around at the airport because we had 41 and was in bed. But that these things happen. I think the fact that he had to start his camp more or less again because he had 2 courses of antibiotics. He had to start the camp again. He looked at it and said, "No, well, okay, you know, I want a blockbuster," and he felt that, you know, that's got to be someone different. Whether that's lots of names out there that have been talked about for so many years, you know, McGregor, Jake Paul, you know, lots and lots of different names. But at the same time, that's something, direct the question to him. He is CEO of Misfits, so I'll let him answer that.
Has Tommy Fury still got a future potential with Misfits, with fights, yeah?
For sure.
He fought in Hungary last week, yeah?
For sure. I mean, I'd definitely like to make still that fight. I just, maybe after, you know, Till's shown that he's not going to go kick anyone in the head after a fight or during a fight or whatever, you know, after what was said at the presser. But, you know, that water's sort of gone under the bridge now, so maybe we can revisit that. That is an absolute blockbuster that would fill a good arena, and do some numbers, you know. So that's a fight I think everyone would like to see. Can that be made? I've got no idea. Will we put an offer in? Well, let's have a look. Let's see tonight, and I've got the pen ready for Monday. You know, maybe we'll fire one over. But aside of that, you know, in the right fight, Tommy Fury's massive name in this space. You know, massive name. So
he's got a win over KSI and Jake Paul.
Yeah, I mean, okay, winning and losing in this space isn't everything. It's the entertainment factor as well. It's the star power, the pulling power. But what you're seeing now also, and it's, I guess, a little bit KSI related, is they're realising, okay, no, well, actually what people really, when you really melt the internet, like the Prime card did with KSI, Tommy Fury, it is about getting the A's versus the A's. And that's, Tommy's definitely in that category. It's about getting the right dance partner. So Darren, again against Darren Till was a massive, massive, massive fight. Much bigger than, it was a massive fight when we first announced it. It got great reaction. I remember doing that piece with you on the Sunday when we announced it. But it's you know, I've had people call me up in December saying, this is a PR stunt. I know you can, and this is a PR stunt. You're gonna call it back on tomorrow, aren't you? And I'm saying, no. Honestly, it's a first in 26, 7 years of promoting boxing. It was a first. Put it in that way. But, you know, maybe that's changed now, and we'll see. You know, definitely we're firing an offer over on that. And at the same time, you know, we've worked well with Tommy and John and the whole Fury family before, and we'll definitely be able to do it again. There's no bad blood there or anything. You know, we get on well. So, yeah, that's, you know, maybe it's another fight, but that Darren Till one is the one that sort of tickles me as a promoter.
Yeah, I'd love to still see that. We've not spoken to you to kind of a reaction to Ben Eubank. It's been a couple of weeks or 2 or 3 weeks now. We've not spoken to you since. No. I'm not saying a lot's happened since then, but there's been a lot of aftermath with senior and etc. And is there going to be a rematch? And Chris Eubank, I think, gave his first kind of interviews over the last few days. But yeah, what did you make of the whole kind of Eubank Ben euphoria as such?
Listen, fantastic fight. I think much better than when we first made the fight. I do think that at the time Eubank would have comfortably beaten him. I think that there's, you know, we all get older. There's miles on the clock that levelled up the fight.
At a different weight as well. That was 157 whatever pound.
I mean, yeah. I'm not going to go too much into that, but let's say the weight wasn't a bigger factor as everyone thought it was at the time. Let's just put it that way. And I can't say anymore. But at the same time,
give us any context on that.
No? But let's say that it was the weight that, yeah, it was a weight that was publicly revealed as the weight, you know. But you know, the weight was now at 160. Yeah. Let's put it this way, Eubank would have won that first fight a lot easier than he did now. It was a close fight. If you'd given that a draw, You know, I don't think there'll be too many arguments. I think for me, Eubank still won. You know, won the fight, and most importantly, I think after all that bloody hype and all the stuff before the fight, you know, before the first fight, after the first fight, I'm just happy that it was actually a good fight to watch. You know, it was a great fight to watch.
Your brother made some comments about the ring. Said that he would never have allowed an 18-foot ring.
You know, okay, my brother gets very into his technical parts. Yeah, I think that the ring size was one where the Ben side clearly got one over the Eubank side, because we wouldn't have accepted an 18-foot ring, not a chance. Not with a guy like Ben. You know exactly, there's only one thing, and exactly what he did, you know. Try and take his head off. So,
what was the ring size meant to be for the first fight?
Off the top of my head, 2020. You know, and it sounds not much, but it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. It's a noticeable difference when you're sitting in a ring and you see an 18-foot ring. You've sat enough ring scoop, and you know when you see an 18-foot ring. Even in that big stadium, you'll know, especially in a big stadium, you'll notice when it's an 18-foot ring. And yeah, that's something that, you know, I'm sure his team will look back on and say, well, why did we agree to an 18-foot ring? But you know, that was, you know, it was clearly the tactic of Ben is exactly what he did, and he had a lot of success at doing it. For me, again, Eubank still won the fight, but it was a lot closer than a lot of people thought it would be.
What we have seen in the aftermath of this is a continued attack from Eubank against Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith. I don't know if you saw the comments he did with Stephen Bartlett, which were quite strong towards both Eddie and Frank about calling them dangerous, untrustworthy, all this kind of thing, and they'd try to block him from the business, and went right into this kind of continual attack on Hearn and Frank Smith.
Yeah, I mean, look, especially, you know, the Frank part is obviously quite personal, quite, you know, sort of, yeah, family sort of bonds there. Well, not sort of bonds, it's basically his brother-in-law. So I think that part, you know, is for me, you know, something that I don't like to see, because I don't think Frank's wronged Eubank at any time. Especially the first fight, it was Frank who was really doing the deal with me. You know, Eddie would push, but it was more Frank who was really leading that negotiation, and if it weren't for Frank, that fight would never have got done, never. So
that was about the first fight, yeah. If it weren't for Frank Smith, the fight would never have happened.
Never have happened, and he really pushed hard for it. And for me at the time, I was like, why are they pushing so hard, man? This is an easy fight for Junior at that stage. Like I said, 3 years ago, lots changed since then. But so actually, he was doing Junior a big favour at the time, because it was a great payday at the time, and it was, you know, I thought with the weight, it was a relatively easy fight. Yeah, it was just, for me, one step too far for Ben, given where Junior was at the time. We were rolling, you know, we just had the Liam Williams fight, everything was smooth. You know, in between that, he's obviously had the knockout with Liam Smith, had a very good performance after that. But it takes out you those two camps. You know, at that age, you've got some miles on the clock. I mean, he lives an impeccable life. To be fair to him, he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He's, you know, he lives an athlete life, despite what he puts out there with his, you know, clubs and Vegas and poker and stuff. He's, you know, just looking, when he's not in a training camp, he still looks like a, you know, a men's health model. So it's not that part it's just, you know, your biological clock gets on. He's 3 years older. Yeah, is he the wrong side of 35? You know, so it's time. You know.
Kalle, just if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying that the weight situation was overemphasised in Eubank's situation in this fight that just happened now?
No,
Are you saying?
Well, first of all, I got no idea what was in the contract, even like how it was. So I'm not going to comment on that part. I'm just saying that the fight 3 years ago, the weight situation, the penalties weren't as heavy as they were now. Let's put it that way.
But 3 years is a very long time, I suppose. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's a totally different fight. Yeah. Like I said, the fight now, the fans got the best because they had to wait 3 years, but they got a cracking fight. I think the fight happened 3 years ago would have been a one-sided fight. Been a totally different fight.
Last one on that, do you think they will rematch?
That depends on Canelo, and only on Canelo. It's the biggest money fight for both of them, but at the end of the day, the powers that be, I'm sure, you know, a Canelo versus Eubank fight right now is a good fight to make. You know, I mean, you'd have to favour Canelo, but because from a business point of view, purely business point of view, a lot of people say, I don't want to see Eubank versus Canelo, but from a purely business point of view, you bring in two big markets, and that's you know, as big as Eubank Ben is, it's a British fight. It's you know, 95% of the pay-per-views will have come out of the UK, if not 98%. So you know, it's a massive, massive UK fight, but a Canelo fight, of course, is more of a US Latino UK fight.
Okay. Just to round off, obviously you've got Josh Kelly coming up in Newcastle next month. Yeah.
Interesting stuff as well around it, because you've got Fondura, who's just been stripped. So there's a situation there with the WBO at super welter. But we're sort of in between the super welters and the middleweights. We got a great ranking, obviously, with a BO and with the IBF right at the top of the rankings there. So this fight is a really important fight for the second half of the year. You know, it was key for us to get him out now. Worked on a few other options that didn't unfortunately work, but no, yeah. Look, Channel 5 is that platform that really helps build names. You know. We've seen it with so many names over there. Eubank Jr. we just talked about, but you know, you can look at Tyson Fury. It's the launch pad. That's, I think the last two shows have both done over 2 million views. So, you know, those are big numbers. You know, even when you're on, you know, the likes of Sky, obviously has great pulling power, especially with the cross promotion with Sky Sports News. DAZN now is such a global platform. It's fantastic to build a profile, but in terms of building your domestic audience, it's nothing like free TV, of course.
Kalle, have you got anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Very excited to be signing George Groves' first fighter, our old world champion. Well, he's not that old, George. Kill me if you say that. Lucas Rohrig, who's a fantastic cruiserweight talent. Trains right round the corner from where I live in West London, so bit of a home favourite. But yeah, very excited. He'll also be on June the 6th, live on Channel 5. Felix Cash on that card as well. Tom Welland again. Essex very finest, the Filipino flash from Essex. Tom Welland, who seems to be on every card we do, so he's moving forward very, very nicely. And you know, we've got Dan Tao returning at that upset, so a stacked card June the 6th, and yeah, very excited about that. We're working together with George Groves. I can't believe it, George. I feel so old now that George is now suddenly managing fighters and training fighters, so very excited about that.
Okay, and as I understand, there could be some potential news coming tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, an absolute humdinger blockbuster of a banger of a fight. That will very much... I'll give you a clue. Warriors Code.
Kalle Sauerland, thank you very much for talking to IFLTV.